Hello there, and welcome to TaAF Talks, the show that's all about influencing positive change and doing things differently. My name is Jamie Ward from Together an Active Future, and with me, as always, is the articulate, attentive, anally retentive Mr. Ken Massey. How are you doing, Ken?
I'm doing about as good as your haircut, I think. After that introduction, we'll come back to your haircut in a minute, but let's introduce our topic and our guest first. So I think what's been really great over the last few weeks is all the creativity and different things that have been happening during this lockdown situation. And today we've got with us Nathan Bibby, who's the school games organiser from Rossendale, who's been doing some incredible work trying to engage young people and the whole community with some virtual challenges. So Nathan, welcome to the podcast.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me, guys.
We wanted you to come in today, Nathan, to kind of chat to us about something specific that's going on in Rossendale, the area that you're kind of involved in. So people in Rossendale recently have started going nuts for something that's called a virtual mile.
Yep.
So can you kind of, as an introduction to this, just the
Rossendale Virtual Mile, it kind of came about, every year we have the Rossendale Primary School Cross Country. And we have cross country, it would have been last Thursday actually, the Primary School Cross Country, which seems a bit strange having it in May. But the idea around that is we don't want, the first experience of cross country for primary school age pupils to be in the wet, cold, windy, muddy kind of conditions that, traditional cross country is. So that's why we do it in May. And that's probably our biggest events actually, or one of our biggest events in the academic year. We had over 500 pupils down at Mile Pits running up and down the hills. And to be honest with you, I'm absolutely gutted that we couldn't run it this year. So the idea was, can we get them pupils representing their school in some other way in their running? So that's why we've come up with the Rossendale Virtual Mile. And at first it was just going to be for primary school aged pupils, and it would be quite easy to manage, and we'd hopefully get a few pupils doing that. But once I started speaking to the likes of Ken from Rossendale Leisure Trust and Paul, we kind of came up with the idea of let's make it a Rossendale-wide initiative and really get everyone behind us. So it's now, we're getting, I think the youngest maybe 14 months old to the eldest of 73 years old taking part. So it's all about getting out, being active, covering a mile, travelling a mile. Not as far as Ken might have said before, but or before we started this podcast. As long as you're travelling, you're walking, you could be running, jogging, you could be pushing a child in a buggy. Wheelchair users can absolutely get involved. It's just travelling a mile and logging that mile. If you are associated with a school, you can put that you're associated with that school, so that doesn't have to be a pupil. You could be a former pupil, you could be a parent, a grandparent, a relative, a friend, anyone who's involved with that school you can put down, because the idea is that the primary school with the most entries will become our primary school virtual mile champions, and the secondary school with the most entries will do as well. Now, since launching it, we've also had lots of nursery school entries, so we've actually opened up to a nursery school competition as well, which I think is quite cool. And then on top of that, we've got age group categories from under 5s to over 70s, and everything in between. So the top 3 times for them age categories, they'll get prizes as well. So we're trying to cover a wide range. Well, every single person in Rossendale ideally could get involved with this. And yeah, that's the basis, or the basic idea of the Rossendale Virtual Mile.
So it's an awesome summary, and I think you've covered quite a few different things there that are probably worth us delving into a little bit. So, so I think one of the first things we were going to explore, which I think you've touched on, was why a virtual mile. And I think one thing you kind of touched on them as well. For a start, everyone can do it. It doesn't feel like something that I couldn't achieve that much. A mile feels achievable, I think, for most people. It doesn't necessarily disadvantage anybody who can't access a bike or can't access a leisure centre, or it can be done in people's own way. And I think that. So what we're always trying to think of in Together an Active Future is, what is it about great ideas and initiatives that makes them take off, to try and help other people think around, well, these are some of the key ingredients. So maybe let's touch a little bit more on some of those key ingredients in your opinion, and also you yourself, Ken, because I know that you've got, you're kind of involved in this as well.
Yeah.
So one of them being, make it something that everybody could achieve. So that mile bit. Let's put to one side, it also has to be something that people can do socially distant. But that is a key factor.
Absolutely.
So it had to be socially distant and it had to be something achievable. What else do you think has made this turn from something that might have just been about kids and schools, whereas now you're starting to see it grow into something that's really quite special?
So I think something worth mentioning is that I've been working with the other Lancashire School Games organisers on a virtual resource that we've sent out to schools. And within that resource, we've set challenges. Now, these challenges have been based on the sports that would normally be on the Lancashire School Games. Lancashire School Games is set in Blackpool. We have over 2,000 pupils taking part in so many different sports. So the idea leading up to the School Games was for us to set challenges in the sports that would have been on the School Games, weekly challenges. Now, they have been relatively successful, but the problem with that is we've had to do it on them specific sports. So one of the challenges was using a hockey stick to keep a ball up, see how many times you could do keep you up is. Now, the problem with that is, who
has a hockey stick?
Do you have a hockey stick at home?
I'll jump in right away. I'll tell you what the problem with that is. Who has
exactly. So you've got specialist equipment there straight away. Costs to it as well. We had Rossendale's massive in cricket, so we had just pupils using a cricket bat trying to keep it up. But obviously, it's not the same. Not everyone has a cricket bat either. So I think one of the problems with them challenges has been the specialist equipment, and we've tried to adapt it for them. But the beauty of the mile is that we've kind of established anyone can do it. Literally, anyone can get involved, and you don't have to have any certain level of fitness. You can walk a mile. I've had parents contact me saying, "Oh, we tried the mile yesterday and we tried running it, but we couldn't run it. But what we did do is we still wanted to be a part of it. So we went for a long walk and we've logged a mile within that walk. So, you don't need specialist equipment. I think that's number one. It's free. You don't have to pay for running or walking a mile, do you? Running, it's universal. It's inclusive, young, old, physically able, disabled, and anyone can get involved with it, really. I think that's been the key factor. It's absolutely stunning area of natural beauty. I think, again, that's brilliant. People can get out. I think in Rossendale, you no more than 5-10 minutes walk away from green areas and space and countryside. So I think that's been another key factor in getting people out. There's amazing places to visit in Rossendale.
So I think there's something else then that must have kind of happened with that, because there's a point there that says Rossendale was always there looking that beautiful. People have always been able to go out and walk within a mile. So what is it that you guys have done to turn this into something that actually felt like talking about things like promotion, making this an actual thing that people heard and recognised, making this a thing that people thought, well, what's this thing going on? I can maybe do that. Because walking a mile, you can walk a mile anytime. In Rossendale, I can do it in Rossendale. So what is it that turned this into a thing, and how does that work?
I think that's a really good question, and Nathan's done, I think, some really good work on this. I'm sure it'll come in, but just some of my initial thoughts. I think something that's been really great about the virtual mile, there's been a few bits of promotion that have been really clever for me. One of the really simple things is that everyone, it kind of harnesses this sense of school community, but broadens it. So one of the key parts of the virtual mile is it's not the fastest person who wins, they can win an individual prize, but the school with the most entries, either students or ex-students or parents or grandparents, the number of people connected with that school community, the more people that get involved, that's how you win the competition. It's about engagement, and the schools have really took into that. So if I can, I want to share just a little, and this is a bit of a trial run, because we've never done this before, but one of the schools Haslingden County Primary School. I'm just going to share my screen a second here. So if you're on YouTube, oh, hang on a minute. For some reason, my screen is not sharing, which is a bit...
So this is that thing where Ken's, we've never done this before, and it immediately goes wrong.
Technology, can't rely on it.
How weird.
So what is it you're trying to bring up, Ken?
I was trying to show a video of, but it's not going to let me for some reason, of Haslingden County Primary School, who they've been doing virtual assemblies every week, and their head teacher and their PE coordinator, I think, did this kind of tongue-in-cheek video where she's sort of talking about, oh, there's been this great idea of the virtual mile, and we need to get all the kids involved. It flips across to him, who's dressed up as the guy from 118 with the wig on. And
Yes.
There's comedy running around the field at school, and just a really nice way to kind of communicate with the kids.
But he was, because you showed me this before, he was the head teacher of the school, of a big school, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So it was almost like teachers showing a bit of a daft side to stuff, which probably is a much more interesting hook for some kids to see. What on earth is Mr. So-and-so doing?
Yes.
But I really like that notion of the school community, and actually perhaps where some initiatives, and let's even use the word competitions, fall down, is they limit who can be part of it. Whereas in actual fact saying, well, yes, it's about a school, but if you're a parent of a child, or if you used to go to this school, you're actually widening it to say, well, don't let this limit you. Let's make sure that this competition can be everybody. I really like that idea of it's the school, but it's the whole community wrapped around that school. That's a really nice premise, that.
Yeah, and I think that was a really clever part. I mean, the other thing is that we encouraged all the kids to, and young people who took part, to take pictures and share the pictures. So I managed to share my screen a little bit now, hopefully. So if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see that. But loads of kids with their parents taking part in all different settings. Some of them have come down and used the local running track, or some are running at home. But I think the sharing of getting the participants to share their pictures and their story on their own social media pages has been kind of given a sort of viral spreading and sharing of information. So I think that was that was really powerful as well. So and the other thing I think that we did, or that Nathan did, and let's see if we can do this, but the local school got behind it as well. So you can see there was an article in the newspaper as well as on their online platform. So just a lot of different people in a lot of different ways promoting the virtual mile. So you had the funny school video, you've got the newspaper, you've got stuff on social media, but the sense as well of schools wanting to promote it, because it was a great way for them to connect with their communities during lockdown as well. So I think those were all key ingredients for me. Is there anything I've missed there, Nathan, that you think would be extra to add in terms of things that we did?
Yeah, I think, in terms of social media, Rossendale School Sports Partnership, we had a Twitter page, and that was it before lockdown. And I think it's, I've set up a Facebook page. It's only 5 weeks old. But just from using social media, I mean, we've had 30,000 people hit our Facebook page, which I think is fantastic. I have used the boost button where you can promote it by paying for a sponsored advert, but I've only done that a couple of times. And the initial Facebook post that I put about the virtual mile, I think we've had maybe 7,000 or 8,000 people interact with that Facebook post, and I think I only boosted it for a couple of days. And it showed me on the screen. I think the boost helped reach 2,000 people, but the other 6,000 people are just from shares from, as you said, local schools. So social media has been it's been brilliant, actually. Actually, me connecting with the local community rather than me just emailing schools and contacting PE coordinators with the schools, to interact with families and getting some really personal stories and people messaging me saying this is a brilliant initiative, we're loving it, we're going to carry on running after the deadline of entering our mile, and I can actually physically see what's going on in the community rather than being told through the schools and through the PE coordinators, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think setting up a Facebook page has probably been the best thing I've done in lockdown just to actually get some good, solid interactions with the local community.
And I mean, a couple of things there, and I think then we'll move on to maybe just sharing some of them stories you talked about. I think I'm not a big lover of social media, mainly because I'm an archaic kind of old school individual. But I think it's also about recognising the right format at the time you're doing a thing. And at the moment, social media is almost close to being the only way you can connect with people right now. And knowing that people are more likely to have devices in their hands and checking for various kind of updates and stuff, you can just imagine how something like this can pick up traction, can't you? And not being afraid, I'm also kind of famously quite miserly when it comes to kind of spending cash and stuff. But actually recognising that Facebook posts and boosts, cost very little in my understanding.
Yeah.
But not being afraid to say, just that little bit of investment reached an extra 2,000 people, which then if you extrapolate that for shares and what they then say about it, the value you get from that kind of thing, I think is huge as well, isn't it? So I think you've touched then on an awful lot of the ingredients. And at the end, maybe we'll do a quick run through summary because Ken is very good at kind of doing that for us. Let's maybe just do, if you wouldn't mind sharing just maybe a couple of examples, Nathan, of maybe just a couple of stories that make you feel like, this is turning into something really quite special. Is there any that kind of leaped into your mind?
Yeah, I think, at the start of this, I didn't really know how to kind of promote it, how to set it up. And I relied on local residents and people. So one thing I was wary of is actually measuring out a mile using a GPS watch. Not everyone's going to have a GPS watch, for example. So how do we actually measure out a mile and make it inclusive so that everyone can? So one thing that we did do is reach out to the community and ask people to map out a mile within their local area. So we've had maybe 5 areas throughout Rossendale that have been mapped out, and we've been able, and that's just been relying on local people to do that for me, and it was absolutely fantastic to be suddenly getting all these emails saying we've mapped this route out in Whitworth, we've mapped this route out in Bacup, in Rossendale, and they've actually done their own maps. People have put start posts and where you need to turn around posts and finish posts down. Some people have printed out maps, laminated them, and put it at the start of the mile. And I think just that local community engagement, relying on volunteers, because I don't live in Rossendale, so I don't have that local knowledge, but just that in community that put that together, I thought that was quite special just to start it off with. And I think that's been another key factor. Some of the other things, just, like the youngest participant being 14 months old to the oldest of 73, who his daughter was telling me he had dementia. I'm not going to say who he is, but he's a former Rossendale Harrier, former coach at Rossendale Harriers. He got to the track and he couldn't really remember which way around he was supposed to go around the running track. But once he got going, and once obviously he knew which way around, he was just back in his element. Apparently wasn't even out of breath at the end of it. And I think hopefully that might inspire him to get running again, which I think would be an amazing success story. Other parents that have messaged me saying, we tried it and we couldn't do it, but we still want to be involved. So we've gone for a walk the next day. To parents messaging me saying, we're absolutely loving this. We're going to try to beat our personal best. It's all about the personal best for everyone. We're trying to beat our time. We're trying to get our time down. No one's really messaging me saying, what's the fastest time? How can we beat it? They've just been messaging me saying, we've had a go. She or he, our child wants to beat that time. We're going to give it another go. Even after lockdown, we're going to carry on running because that's the good thing about running. You can physically see the improvements that you're making, with the time. So people just go in and go in and go in again. And I think just little stories like that have been brilliant. And I think it's made the Facebook posts so successful because the posts that I'm putting up are all personal, and then obviously people are sharing them and liking them and interacting with them.
I think there's something quite special, isn't there, about this is the kind of thing that can help people maybe move from nothing to something. So they might not have done anything before, or in the case of that gentleman, there might have been a thing that he used to love that might have been his passion. And through where he's found himself in life with dementia and things, actually what this has done is giving maybe him and his family a chance to reconnect with something that he used to really enjoy, and hopefully can start helping a little bit in how they manage that, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ken, go on.
There's just one last story for me, and then we probably need to start wrapping up, I guess. But one of the ones that I saw, I was really touched by the video and really moved by it. It was just a young man, maybe in year 7 or year 8 in a high school, and perhaps wasn't the fittest person, and he walked his mile. And probably a kid who would not have got selected to be in the school cross country team, I wouldn't have thought. But just to see him walk up and down the field from goalpost to goalpost on his video with his dad, and the big smile on his face, that a great example of moving from probably not much exercise, but finding something that could get involved in. And I hope that young man perhaps maybe carry on walking and running and doing a bit more. But so many fantastic stories, and I think that individual connection is really important. And we've talked about some of the big stuff today. In terms of the key ingredients of this kind of sort of social movementy event. We've touched on picking something that everyone can do. We've picked up on this idea of building on existing networks, but making it more accessible. So the Lancashire School game stuff was doing loads of good work. There was lots of a platform there and engagement, but you took it to a level that kind of opened it to everybody. Thinking about stuff like equipment and making sure that, that it's something that's potentially free, but really easy for everyone to do. I don't need a hockey stick or a cricket bat to take part. And then the social media stuff, really important, and connecting people's personal stories in. We talked about, I love the community partners and just people that we knew around the communities who were doing the maps and helping to prep the things. And then a really interesting ingredient around this, trying to build and centre on school communities, but that would be a great example for any other types of communities, whether that's churches or different volunteer organisations, but harnessing that network to then reach wider than just the kids in the school, I think was a really powerful element. So we picked up a lot of good things there that I think would be a good kind of list of key ingredients for people who are trying to engage the community in activities that can really start to gather some momentum.
Brilliant. So just really quickly, Nathan, I think obviously I've seen initiatives in the past and you've thought, oh, that's awesome, that. And what they'd not done is they hadn't thought about the what next. So they'd almost generated this energy from people to do a thing.
Yeah.
They'd only thought about that 3-week phase they ran it for. And then what? You've left the book. So have you got what the ideas and plans kind of quite, in quite a succinct kind of summary for what happens next with this?
Yeah, I think we'll continue to set these virtual challenges to schools, but in terms of the virtual mile, I think that does have legs. So once the deadline is passed, what I'm going to do, pardon the pun.
Yeah.
Once the deadline has passed, our next aim is to set in maybe 2-3 weeks' time. We're going to relaunch the virtual mile. And set people the challenge of actually beating their personal best. So they'll be able to submit what their original time was from this challenge, and then obviously hopefully submit their new time, which is an improvement. And I'll be able to reward the pupils and parents and everyone who is improved the most in their mile. And I think that is the beauty of running. You can make big improvements in a short space of time. So I'll set some loosely some training programs that people can get involved with as well during them few weeks, just to hopefully improve their mile. And then we can
go anywhere, can't it? I think that's the beauty of this. I think it's as somebody who has a wardrobe full of fancy dress and loves daft stuff. Yes. You can imagine one of them in the future being who can do the most ridiculous virtual mile, who can do the most creative virtual mile.
Yeah, definitely.
People setting their own, what's your virtual mile going to be this time? You all create your own version. I think the consistency of the mile, but it just opens it up to so many ideas. It could be really fun.
We've already had Rossendale Leisure Trust Phil Holden doing the mile backwards last week. So he's run his mile, full mile backwards, which I thought was quite impressive myself. Not sure I'm going to recommend that to everyone, but he wasn't a flat surface. Don't do that on the road.
It was a message saying thanks. I ruptured my knee ligaments trying to do
yes.
the mile you told me about. So I think watch this space. I think where can people, well, firstly in Rossendale, but also outside of Rossendale, find out more about this and maybe kind of tap into this a little bit? Where can they go?
Yeah, I'd say the best place to go is our Facebook page, which is, if you typed in at Rossendale SSP or Rossendale School Sports Partnership in Facebook, you'll be able to find us. Ken just obviously showed the screen of our page before, shared the screen of our page before. So yeah, Rossendale SSP on Facebook. And our top post is all about the virtual mile. And you'll be able to click on the Google form to enter your mile there.
Well, I think we'll look forward on keeping an eye on this and seeing where it goes and the different things that kind of occur because of it. I think it's, like I said, it's already quite special. It could really kind of grow into something, couldn't it? Even bigger. So yeah, I think the last thing I'm going to ask you to do is set me and Ken. So we're getting better at being active. One of us more than the other. So what I think you should do, Nathan, is I think you should set us a challenge for doing a mile, whether it's a time challenge or a mile in a different way. Ken's not allowed to get in his car. So set us both a challenge that we have to do, and we'll feedback on a future podcast to let people know how we've done.
Okay, so I've been tasked with this before the podcast, so I've had a little think, and one of the sessions that I was in a few weeks ago, which Ken was leading on, he taught the group how to juggle. What I'd like Ken to do is, he doesn't have to do the full mile.
Oh, this is just for Ken, that's good.
This is just Ken's. I would like Ken to either, he's got two options. He can do last mile pits juggling and then finish the last 3 laps running, walking, however he wants. Or you can do the full mile juggling, but I'd like to see at least 1 lap of juggling during your mile. Jamie, I don't know you as well, but I'm going to say you've got 2 options as well. So you can mile however you want, but I'd like you to try to beat 8 minutes. So to go sub 8 minutes for your mile. Or you can go Holden's challenge of doing it backwards on a track and try to beat his time, which I'll find out for you. I'm not sure what time he actually did. So you've got 2 options yourself.
Okay.
On your level of fitness. So.
Okay, well, I'll let you know there that if I just did 8 minute mile, I'll crush that. I'm all right with that.
Right, okay, so you're running. Okay, I'm going to say 6 minutes.
I'll either add in a stupidity element to the 8 minute mile that makes it much more difficult, or I'll do my knee ligaments and try and beat Phil Holden.
Yes.
All right, wicked. Challenge accepted. I'm glad you didn't send me the juggling one because Ken sent me juggling. Right, wicked. So I think what we wanted to do is just quickly, Ken, if you could bring up Nathan's success factors and just make sure we feel like we covered those before we kind of wrap up.
Yeah, got them there. Kind of. Can you read those? My writing's a bit difficult.
Writing, mate.
So I think you talked about trying to enthuse and motivate local people to be involved with the virtual mile. I think we've had some good energy now. Hopefully people will pick up from that. Do a bit more around, getting involved in this sort of virtual world and building confidence and feeling more comfortable being on video and stuff. And you've certainly seemed very relaxed and comfortable to me. So I would say check them off.
Good lad. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so like I said, I think I really like the idea of setting yourself a success factor that's almost about your own learning and development. 'Cause a lot of this stuff's new to us. I mean, me and Ken are obviously professional podcasters these days.
Yeah, certainly, it is something that's out of my comfort zone and something that I'd like to, push more of. I don't feel too relaxed. I feel a little bit, I've got sweaty palms right now, so. But yeah, I felt quite comfortable, and I think that's probably down to you too.
Well done, matey. Right, okay, so I'll wrap up and then I'll hand over to you, Nathan, for the final word. So, as always, everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you have enjoyed this, check out all the other podcasts that we've done on all your standard podcast providers, plus YouTube, because now you can see our beautiful faces and dodgy haircuts at the same time as well. You can find us on Twitter at TaAF Talks. Feel free to tweet away and have your say. That's all from me and Ken. As always, enjoyed it, loved it. This is learning for us too, and it's an enjoyable learning experience for both of us. So, Nathan, over to you for the last word.
First of all, thank you very much for having me on your podcast, guys. As I said, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Just like to say, please do get involved with the Rossendale Virtual Mile. But more importantly, stay active. Being active is so important for your physical and mental health and well-being. Just keep active and stay safe as well, please.